Hey guys, it's Lance at Mac Sound Solutions, and can you believe it's been a year since I posted that video about moving your home folder to an external drive, your user account, freeing up all that internal storage for your Mac so you don't have to go shell out all that money to buy a Mac with a huge internal hard drive, because it's so much cheaper to just connect an external SSD and run all your data from there. Well, I'm making one more of these videos, probably my last one. And the reason is I think I've really found the best way to do this, and I should have thought of this sooner, so sorry about that, but live and learn. And I just got to throw in there that iCloud Drive is now indexable by Spotlight when it's living on the external home folder setup. It took me a year to figure this out. This method is the GOAT, and it is now fixed. This copies all your permissions, all your data. It basically is just cloning your user account. This works if you have an old computer and you want to move all that data to a new computer but not have it live on the internal drive. And it also works for taking the internal drive that's all full of your data and moving it to the external drive, freeing up all that internal space. And this is great for people who bought like the base model Mac Mini or even a 512 gig Mac Mini, because eventually that's just going to get full, right? Especially the 256. And speaking of 256, Amazon is currently selling these for $479. That is such a great deal for your base model Mac Mini. Link in the description. And the reality is, if you're going to spend the extra money, you're better off buying more RAM than you are upgrading the internal storage, because you can do the external storage thing that I'm showing here in this video. But the reality is 16 gigs is probably more than enough RAM for most people. And so what if you use a little swapped memory? Because now you're running all your data off the external drive, your internal drive is getting written to way less. It also works if this is your first Mac ever and you have no data on it whatsoever and you're setting it up for the first time and want to run your data off an external drive instead of internally. And this works with any Mac, so you don't have to buy that expensive internal storage. So you can buy a relatively cheap 2 terabyte setup to run externally, and I will show you the ones that I recommend. The links will be in the video description. If you purchase through my links, that gives me a little bonus, helps me out to make these videos, so I appreciate your support. And I created a step-by-step PDF guide which is downloadable with the link in the video description for a very small fee. It's my first digital product. It will also include a few things I don't cover here in the video, like why you may see a shared folder on the Macintosh HD in the users folder after setting up the external home folder. And I go deep into applications and what apps should stay in the Macintosh HD apps folder and what can live on the external SSD applications folder and the applications folder that may appear inside your external users folder. That stuff can trip people up, so it's all spelled out in the PDF. So really quickly, I'm just going to go through an enclosure and NVMe setup, and I highly recommend the Western Digital Black SN850X. I've been using these nonstop for like a year now, and I really like them. They're rock solid. And unfortunately, these things have gotten a lot more expensive of late. You can see the 2 terabyte version is now $200. So that's something to consider. You can always upgrade later when the prices come down, but they have gotten more expensive. The 1 terabyte is way more reasonable. So these are the 3 enclosures I've tested out, and there's so many out there, you can't test them all, but these guys have been rock solid for me. The Zike is 40 gigabit. It's a toolless enclosure. You just throw in your NVMe, throw on the thermal pad, close it up, you're ready to go. And the Acasis gives you 80 gigabits per second. You're going to get like 6,000 megabytes per second read and write, whereas the Zike gets 3,000 megabytes per second because it's USB 4. The Acasis is Thunderbolt 5, but you are going to pay for the Thunderbolt 5. It's close to $200 for that, and the Zike is around $100. And of course, your Mac has to support Thunderbolt 5. If your Mac is Thunderbolt 4, there's no point in buying a Thunderbolt 5 enclosure because it'll only operate at 40 gigabit. You do not get the benefit of the Thunderbolt 5 80 gigabit speeds. But the Beelink, the one in the middle, that is really my favorite because you get extra ports. It's got a built-in fan fan, but you don't hear it, keeping your NVMe nice and cool, and it's cheaper than the Acasis, yet it's still Thunderbolt 5. And the A unit has dual NVMe slots, which is awesome, and it supports 40 gigabit unless you do a RAID 0, then you can get the full Thunderbolt 5 speeds. And the B unit is strictly Thunderbolt 5, a single NVMe slot. And I have full reviews on all of these enclosures on my channel. So I don't want to take too much time here, but they're all great. Check them out and pick the one that you think is best for you. Links to all of them in the video description below. One more thing before we get into the thick of it, you need to have a backup of your data. So make a time machine backup of your Macintosh HD with your user account if you don't already have one. If you have one that's a month old, you want to make a current one. You want to get it up to date and then move forward with the process. Step 1, creating a backup administrative user account. And if this is your first Mac, you just create a user account when you first boot up the computer. That's going to be your main account, and you're going to log into your iCloud account. Apple walks you through the process when you first buy a new Mac and you turn it on. And now we're going to set up our backup user account, and this is for everybody. You must have an administrative backup user, and it serves a few purposes, one being that if something goes wrong with the external user account drive, you can always log into the backup user on the internal drive, and we need it for some other stuff, which I'll get to in a bit. So we're going to go to System Settings, Users and Groups, and create a new administrative user account that will live on the internal drive. It's not going to take up any space. So we're going to click on Add User and select Administrator. That's very important. And then we'll give it a name. I'm just going to call it Gamer, but you can call it whatever you want. And again, this is your backup user account. And this takes up no space whatsoever on the computer. Obviously, name it something different than your main user account. And I'm going to give it a password, pick an emoji, and we hit save. So now we have two accounts, our backup user account, I called mine Gamer, and my main account, Mini 4 Pro. Now we're going to log out of our main user account and we're going to log into the new backup user. And I just use the same password for both of my users just to keep it simple, but you can do whatever you want. Just don't forget your passwords. So you just mouse over the user that's on the top there, and you'll see you have your new user is underneath. So you just log in with your password. And when first logging into a new account, you have to go through these usual Apple prompts, and do not log into your iCloud account. Your main account is already logged into iCloud. Click on Setup Later, hit Skip, and once you get to your desktop, we can log out of the backup user and log back into our main user account. But before we log out of the backup user, to make user account switching easier, we're going to go to System Settings, Menu Bar, and turn on Fast User Switching. And I'm going to select account name, and then the current account that you're logged into will show up in the upper right menu bar, and then you can easily switch between the backup user and your main user account. Okay, so now we're going to log out of our backup user account and log into our main user account. So now we're logged back into our main account, and you have to turn on fast user switching in both accounts because they're separate accounts, right? So if you want to have it show up in the menu bar above to be able to quickly switch between your accounts, you got to turn it on in the system settings in both accounts. And you can see I'm currently logged into Mini 4 Pro. There's a little orange checkbox by it. And it's just an easy way to switch between your two user accounts going forward. Step 2, format your external SSD in APFS. Okay, so we've connected our hard drive to our Mac. Now, first thing is, if you don't have it on already, go to Finder, Settings, and turn your hard disks on so they're visible on the desktop. You see they just popped up. And now we want to format our new hard drive. Usually it'll just say untitled. You will get a message when you plug it in saying, do you want to use this for Time Machine to back up your data? No, you do not want to. Just close that out. We're not using this drive for Time Machine. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is go to Disk Utility. I have Disk Utility in my dock. If you don't, you can use Spotlight and type in disk. There it is, and open Disk Utility. Okay, And we're going to close this. That's our Macintosh HD. We don't want to mess with that. There's our new hard drive, Western Digital Black. It says external. That's important. You do not want to be formatting your internal drive. And usually an external drive is going to be formatted in exFAT or not formatted at all. So we want to format it in APFS. So we're going to go to erase and we're going to give it a name. In my case, I've already got mine formatted. It's called MateMini 2T for 2 terabyte. MateMini 2T, okay? You can call it whatever you want. And then we go down and make sure this is on APFS for format and the scheme is GUID partition. Then we hit erase. I'm not going to hit erase because it's going to completely erase the drive. So obviously, if you have data on your drive, that's not the one you want to be using because you're going to be wiping it clean. To put your user account on it and run it from there going forward. Okay, on to the next step. And now we're ready to download and install Carbon Copy Cloner. We're going to launch our web browser and we're going to search for Carbon Copy Cloner. And we're going to download Carbon Copy Cloner. You can use it for 30 days for free, full operational version. This is what we're going to use to clone our user data from our older Mac or from our internal drive to move it to the external freshly formatted drive. So it downloads really quick. It's just a small application. And then we're going to unzip it and copy it into our applications folder. From your downloads folder, we drag it over into our applications folder on our Macintosh HD. I already have it there, so I'm just going to skip that. And then I'm just going to drag it into my dock for easy access. Step 4, clone the main user account from the Macintosh HD or your old Mac to the new SSD. So first off, we're going to go to Carbon Copy Cloner, which we've installed. So we're going to go to our MateMini drive, the one we formatted, that we're going to copy our user account to the users folder. And we have to create another folder. So file, new folder. And it's got to be named exactly the same way as the user account we want to move. If you look at this, here's my user account on my Mac Mini's internal drive, and you can see it's got a little house on it. That's how you know you're logged into that account. There's another user account here. There's no little house. So this shows you that's the one you're logged into, okay? So we are going to name this exactly the same. Mini 4 Pro. Mini 4 Pro, okay? Identical. And that's what you need to do. If you just clone this to the users folder, you're going to get all your data loose inside the users folder. You're not going to have it where it needs to go. So you got to create that folder that's the same as the drive's user account that you want to move. Okay, we're going to close this out now. So here we are with Carbon Copy Cloner, and we're going to select our source. That is the user account we want to put on the external drive, whether it's on a laptop, user account, your old Mac, you want to get it off of there and move it to the external drive. So we're going to go up to our Macintosh HD and we're going to go to our users and drag over the current user account. There it is. Okay. Now we're going to go to the MateMini and we're going to bring in the Mini M4 Pro folder that we created. So it's going to copy all of our data from here to here. And we're just going to hit start and then we're going to go. We're going to translate. Yeah, I already had an emergency.
Well, this is just electrolytes, minerals, and vitamin C.
All right. That was my wife bringing me some needed hydration because I'm fighting the flu, folks. I feel like dirt. That's what happens when you have a 7-year-old daughter and you're 65. She gets the bug, you get the bug, everyone gets the bug. So we're just going to let this finish and then I'll come back and we'll have a look-see. All right, backup is successful. Let's go have a look. So we can close out Carbon Copy Cloner. We'll look at our external drive, users, Mini 4 Pro, and there it is. All our data, just like it is on the internal drive. Just to show you, they're identical. Okay, step 5, we are going to set the path of our main user account to the new external SSD location. In other words, we're telling macOS This is now where our user account is located. And in Tahoe, it's gotten a little tricky to open the advanced options under your user account, but you just got to kind of move your cursor around and you'll see what I mean. And we're going to go to users and groups, hold down the control key on our keyboard and click on the user account we want to now point to the external drive. Like if I go here, see, that's not working. Got to kind of go down there for some reason. They still haven't fixed that. But there it is, advanced options. Just make sure you're in the right user account. It wants my password, my user password. And now we're going to click on our home directory. You can see right now it's in users Mini 4 Pro. And that is the internal drive. So we want it to be the external drive. We're going to click on choose. And I'm already on the external drive, but you got to go find your external drive, go to users and select the named user account and then just hit open and hit OK. To use this folder you specified as your home folder, you must restart your computer. Step 6 is to reboot and log into the cloned account on the external SSD for the first time. There we are, folks. We have moved our home folder. All my apps are where I left them. Everything is exactly the same, but I am now running off the external MateMini. And what's amazing about this method is I'm still signed in to my iCloud account. I didn't even have to re-sign in. It just worked. And look at our path. There it is, MateMini. And that's how you do it, folks. That is as easy as it gets. Carbon copy clone to the external drive. Now you can go to the internal drive and delete your old user account. But of course, have a backup, a time machine, a carbon copy clone of it somewhere else aside from the external one we just created. Step 7, delete the old internal user account to free up all that internal Macintosh HD space. And to do that, we have to log into our backup user account. So now that everything's honky-dory with our external home folder setup, we now want to go clean up our Macintosh HD that has the original home folder user account on it. And in my case, Mini M4 Pro. So we're going to log out of our user account that we're currently logged into, which is our main one on the external drive. And we're going to log into our backup user. This is important. You want to log into the backup user that we set up originally so that we can go then delete our internal old user account. And you got to make sure you're deleting the old one. And you'll see it right next to the backup user account name. You just go in there, you click on it, and you drag it to the trash, and then you empty the trash. And you might have to empty the trash another time because it's a little quirky getting rid of the user account. But that is the best way to do it. You just delete the user account. It's going to clean up all that data. It might not show up right away on your Macintosh HD because sometimes the Spotlight and APFS have to sort of rescan things to show that you've cleaned up all that user data. But it'll be gone, and then you log out of the backup user, log back into your new external SSD user, and you are good to go. And you've cleaned up a huge amount of space on your internal Macintosh HD. Or in the other case, you have moved your data from your old computer to your new computer on an external SSD. Congratulations. So now we're going to talk about security. So when you do this whole process, even if you have File Vault turned on your Mac, your external drive is not encrypted. Meaning anybody can grab your user account drive that you've created and run off with your data. They can plug it into another computer and instantly access all your stuff. It's completely unprotected. They don't need to log into your user account just to go through your files, right? So you need to encrypt your external user account, and that creates another issue. When you encrypt the external user account, when you boot up your Mac and you try and log into your account, you're not going to be able to get in because that drive has to be mounted on the desktop first. So what you have to do, and that's another reason why we have the backup user, is you have to log into the backup user first. Then you can mount the encrypted drive, which will need a username and password just like your login, and I just use my login for the same reason so I don't forget what it is. And then once you save that into your keychain, that drive will always mount. And once that's done, you just switch users and boom, you're into your account. And then you don't have to shut down your Mac all the time and log in every time. It depends. Some people like to do that. Some people like to just leave their Mac on. But what this does is it encrypts your data, so if somebody does steal your drive, they can't get at your files. That's the main point, is they cannot steal your data. So I highly recommend, if you do the external drive setup, you encrypt the drive. And you can do that after the fact. You just hold down the Alt key on the drive and you'll see in the window it pops up and says encrypt the name of the drive, and it'll encrypt the entire drive. It takes time. You just kind of walk away, let it do its thing, and the next time that you log in after you reboot your computer, you're going to have to log into the backup user first, mount the hard drive, log into it, save it in the keychain. There's a little checkbox, and then switch accounts. That's all you have to do. And I have a video dedicated to encrypting your home folder. Link in the video description. Applications. And just quickly, because I know this video has just gotten really long, and I might make a follow-up video about applications, but if you have pro apps like Pro Tools or Adobe Photoshop or things of that nature, just have them installed on your internal drive. You don't want to be trying to install those on the external drive with the user account. A lot of these apps are made for multiple user accounts. Some go into the documents, some go into the system. So you do not want to install those on the external drive. Now, the App Store does allow you to go into the preferences and select your external hard drive as a place to download apps that are over 1 gig in size. In fact, Final Cut Pro works fine running off an external drive. But that's because all those App Store apps are singular packages. And like games, for instance, you can download those onto the external drive because one game can be 60, 80 gigabytes. So it totally makes sense to download those and have them live on the external drive instead of eating up your internal space, especially if you only have that 256 gig model. So you just go into the App Store preferences, you select the external drive to download games over 1 gig, okay? And that folder is going to live outside of the users folder, and it will automatically be created by the App Store app when you download your first application to the external drive. But other than that, I would leave everything else running on the internal drive, especially pro apps or things like, Microsoft, any of that type of stuff. And Dropbox and Google Drive, you can set those up to store their data on an external drive, but each one of those is sort of its own beast, but it can be done. So you're not having all of that taken up your internal drive storage either. All right, guys, I got to wrap this one up. This has been going on for quite some time. I might make a follow-up video, but most of this stuff is in the PDF file. So, it's going to be easier to go through that step by step than to listen to my endless ramblings. So I hope this helps somebody out, and please give my channel a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. It's a slow burn. I'm slowly growing. I think I'm up to almost 40,000 subscribers, so thank you for that, and I will see you in the next Mac Sound Solutions video.